We have Dana Bash with CNN, who, despite having some minor disagreements with her, does some really amazing work with journalism, especially in her interviews. And I have a couple clips of her talking to Tim Scott, who quickly gets defensive when the topic turns to Trump. So I've lined these up, the best ones that I thought we could go over, and we'll jump in after with the needed context.
Trump is already spreading false claims about cheating in Pennsylvania. He has repeatedly predicted a massive victory, even though polls show that the race is very close. He's setting the stage for his supporters not to believe the results if he loses. Do you want him to stop doing that?
I would never tell any candidate on the ballot to talk about what happens if they lose. Obviously, you're going to lean into the victory, especially
I
when the
appreciate that,
latest
Senator.
polls
Forgive me,
in battleground
but
states
spreading
says
false
that you're
rumors.
running forward. You're running ahead of your candidate.
Totally. But
Listen,
saying false
Dana,
things
you and I
about
disagree on this one.
fraud
Totally disagree on this
is
one.
not. You think it's okay to spread false rumors about fraud and undermine the integrity of the election, regardless of what happens?
Dana, the liberal media has done a better job of spreading misinformation
come on,
than
Senator.
any candidate.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the normal playbook for Republicans at this point. Anytime you get a question you don't want to answer, just say, well, the media does misinformation. It's the fake news. And then you don't ever have to answer the question, despite Dana Bash literally being a wonderful journalist, despite literally going at Kamala, asking her pretty hard questions in their interview, going at her after some of her rallies. Like, she goes for both sides, right? She literally does pretty unbiased journalism, and CNN itself, like this whole idea that it's just fake news, is also just completely made up. They've never been sued for lying or anything of the sort. There is standards that mainstream media has to adhere to. Like, these kind of narratives are tired to hear, but it is, again, just what Republicans do. The simple fact of the matter is that Trump is setting the stage to cry wolf again already. Again, if he loses, Steve Bannon is telling him again the same thing he said in 2020: declare victory on election night before you even know the results, because then if it comes out that you lose, you can stir up a bunch of chaos. Trump has been talking about Pennsylvania in these coming weeks and about other voting laws. He's saying it's going to be a massive, he's going to clean sweep the swing states and all this. And if anything else happens, something had to be up. Republicans are setting up lawsuits. Trump has 70 state election officials who still deny the 2020 election, who are going to be first in line to have to certify this one. It's scary to think of, just one day away, the infrastructure that he has set up to push fake claims about election fraud if he loses. Especially with how gullible his base is. I mean, they believe anything that he tells them. They still think that 2020 was stolen, even after loads of evidences came out debunking everything Trump has said about it. Even though people like Rudy Giuliani, who were on the front lines pushing these lies, have admitted in court that they've lied. They don't care. They're now creating their own narratives and spins about how it actually was stolen and all these things. Like, facts don't matter to these people.
Here's the fact. We're not seeing the coverage of 2 assassination attempts on CNN
We
against
did
Donald Trump.
wall-to-wall
We're not seeing the
coverage.
comments about Kamala Harris talking about fascists, calling Donald Trump a fascist.
John Kelly
We
called
should
him a
focus on
fascist.
giving
His former
the
chief
American
of
people
staff.
the opportunity, giving, and she repeated it, giving people the
Well, wouldn't
opportunity
you? If
to make their own
Kamala
decisions.
Harris's former
That's
chief
what we
of staff
Americans-
called her a fascist, I would guess that you would repeat it too. And
Listen.
Donald Trump has called him one as well.
The bottom line is this, Dana. Bottom line is this. We should focus on the issues that the American people are talking about. They're talking about the greatest invasion across our southern border. Black communities across this country, particularly in inner cities, are talking about the devastation of the presence of Venezuelan gangs, leading to more crime.
And it took that long to really expose what this dude's problem is. His problem is that CNN doesn't consistently paint Republicans as the victims that they so desperately want to be. CNN did do wall-to-wall coverage of the assassinations. I've covered almost every CNN panel in the last 2 weeks, and there was always Republicans on there, and they're always discussing Kamala, the problems with, how she didn't talk about this or this and this and all of this, kind of to a tiring point to some extent, and the things that she said does as well, right? But it was conservative John Kelly who called Trump a fascist, someone who worked directly with Trump, someone, again, conservative, lifelong conservative, also very honorable, respectable soldier. Kamala just said that she agrees with his assertion, right? Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Trump has verbatim said Kamala is a fascist. He verbatim said Biden is the Gestapo, so they can stop with the sympathy act that no one is buying. Like they're being called these outrageous things while they're just being there. They're just existing, not saying anything to anyone. And those Democrats are just bullying them like it's nonsense. The thing is that no conservative wants to mention on the border, to like quickly switch topics on you here, is what is wrong with the border, with our immigration system, is the asylum system is broken, and that some people have found ways to kind of get through the loopholes of that, right? And only one party is trying to fix the asylum system, and that's the Democrats. They've tried in 2021, they tried to pass multiple more funding for the asylum claims, for judges, for lawyers to help prosecute these things, for more money, more pathways, right? If you actually believe that there's just an invasion of people just flooding across the border, sneaking through these portholes and getting in our country without anyone checking or having any checks and balances, boy, do I have a bridge to sell you, because it's crazy that's not happening. And one easy way that you can see that this is all nonsense is they'll also say, not only is there this invasion of people just massively flooding over the border illegally, not being checked or anything, but they somehow also know that these people are criminals. Just think to yourself, critically engage with this. If we know that they're criminals, how would we know that? It would be through a background check, which means that they're coming in, they're getting checked on, they're going through our legal process of asylum. The problem is that the asylum system is broken. But if not only that, you don't buy that the asylum system is the problem here, and people are actually just flooding through the border, through these unguarded entry points, and that we just somehow psychically know that they're criminals, right? If you think a wall will stop these people from flooding over the border, when historically it's never worked in any country or ever stemmed immigration for anyone, I have two bridges to sell you then. If you want to fix the border numbers, revamp the asylum system, it's that simple. The problem is MAGA is pandering to racists whose end goal is let's just keep brown people out of the country.
You just said that you believe that the election will be free and fair. So does that mean that you are confident that if Donald Trump loses, I know you think he's going to win, but let's just play this out. If he loses, that he will concede?
I'm confident that he's going to win without any question. And yes, I do believe that we will have a fair election. We will honor the results, and we will celebrate the 47th president being Donald Trump.
Okay, let me turn to something that I want to ask you about if he does in fact win, which is he's promising a major role for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in his administration, saying he will let him, quote, go wild on medicine and vaccines. As you know, Kennedy is a big spreader of conspiracy theories about vaccines' safety and efficacy. He also declared yesterday that Trump will push to remove fluoride from public water.
They can't say it. They literally just can't say, yes, he will concede if he loses, or yes, he should concede if he loses. This should be simple. That's why I had to leave this in there. They can't say it because if they do, they lose their cabinet position. So it's all about kissing the ring for Trump. None of these people are going to moderate him or keep him in check or make sure he's not like trying to thwart democracy. They're going to go hand in foot and let him, right? And that's extra scary considering that the Supreme Court also won't be keeping him in check. So it'll be unmitigated power for Trump. And some of the things he tried to do last time, invading Venezuela, using the military to shoot protesters, just to name a few, these things will not only be possible, but probable, as he won't have anyone to stop him and tell him no. And him saying that RFK Jr. will control health is even more reason to vote against Trump. This is someone who spreads endless conspiracy theories about vaccines. He still says to this day that vaccines cause autism and all of this other just complete nonsense. He's someone whose conspiracies have directly led to disease spread in other countries that have taken his advice. This is an administration that will not only be unchecked, but it will be wholly unqualified. I mean, imagine RFK Jr. doing health, Elon Musk controlling government spending, Donald Trump holding executive power. This is scary, and for America's sake, I just hope it's something that we don't have to experience.